¿Qué pasó, cochinos and sucias? I'm that Vato Gallo. Welcome to another episode of Sucias Are My Favorite. I'm your host, El Gallo, and today we have a special guest, a friend of mine from high school, Coach J.B. James Boogie. We were friends in high school. We had newspaper together. We did a lot of stuff. He played, semi-pro, pro foot basketball? Uh, right. So I wanted to, well, we got to make it quick because we're both on a time crunch. And also because we've kind of run through this before, except we had technical difficulties on my end. So the whole idea is that, everybody's different. I am, so who you are, what you put out there, like on social media, and what people see and how they perceive you is different than what you actually are. It's kind of like that game of telephone. So, what is it that you think most people see you as, and how does that difference against your idea of who you are? Okay, so well, I was on your show a couple days ago, and we were going to jump in on something, but your co-host kind of threw something in the mix that kind of made it sound dirty, and I just wanted you to finish your thought because you had a thing like the way you operate as far as like how you approach females because we're both single, so he's your co-host is married, you go out, you see a female, whatever. We're talking about like you got to be careful with the whole Me Too thing and whatnot. So what's your approach? And I'll probably finish up. Just go ahead and talk, and after you're done, I'll do my bit, and you can catch it on the podcast or whatever later. That way you can go do your thing. Now, you touched on a thing about like guys being too aggressive with females. What do you think is something that kind of contributes to that? Because I have an opinion, but I'll share it later, and you can hear it on the podcast because I know you're in a time crunch. So, what do you think is contributing to males being more aggressive with females or feeling like they're entitled to do stuff? I don't know if you've seen this guy named Skippy that Abba and Preach kind of do a lot of reviews on him, and I think also mediocre tutorials and reviews, MTR. He does some of that stuff. I don't know if you're on YouTube a lot, but this dude Skippy, he's just very cringy, nice guy, and he feels entitled. So what do you think contributes to that? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's more about like boundaries or not having boundaries growing up, not getting established set of boundaries either for good or for bad. You know, you see some kids that their moms let them run around crazy, yelling, screaming, hooting and hollering, doing whatever. Then you have the other end where you have a mom that if they look at you funny, they'll get pinched or slapped or backhanded, and they don't. No one learns how to be a parent. I think it kind of falls back a little bit to that is that no one teaches us to be a parent. We just do what our parents did, or we remember, okay, I didn't like getting beat, so I'm not going to beat my kid. Or I didn't like this that my parents did, and I'm going to do that. But I think that sparing the rod, spoiling the child works to an extent, but being too lax is given this problem we have with relationships, not just being a person, but intersex relationships, or not intersex, male female relationships, because without having a father figure or a mother figure, depending on if you're a single parent or a child of a single parent, um, how do you think parenting comes into play with that too? Because I don't think it's just how we end up being, because we don't just grow up adults and like, okay, I'm gonna start dating and doing this. I think it comes with from our background. So, like you're African, not African American, but you're raised here, and so do you feel like you're first generation or do you feel like an immigrant? Because you were here as a child, and that's I think that might come into play as well too. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, I feel that, I get that whole idea of the stigma of getting therapy, getting help. Like, we're both Gen Xers, so we both grew up with like, hey, suck it up and deal with it. Or at least the American version of Gen Xers is, suck it up, deal with it, rub some sand on it, rub some dirt on it, and go back and play, quit being a pussy. Um, and then at the same time, those things that we're dealing with, it's just okay. That's like the surface level, like a glacier, and you have all this buried crap underneath that you don't know, you don't even realize because you're just doing you. You're just be living your life, and it's not until you meet someone else. Like when I talk about stuff that grew up with me, like um, you listen to my podcast about who am I. Everybody that's heard it and responded to me about it said, "Oh man, that's very dark." And I'm just thinking like, that's just how I grew up. Like I almost died a bunch of times. So what? Everybody almost dies. But I think to me, it's no big deal. Everybody else is like, how are you still sane? So sorry. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. And I wanted to circle back to like how you approach because you started saying something on when I was on your podcast last time about going to approach a female at wherever, and your co-host threw in, oh well, she's 18 or across the high school. Like let's just ignore that. How would you typically approach? Like you meet a female, you see someone in public. What's your what's your go-to? What's your game plan? How do you do that? And what's your mindset going into that? And I think that'll end our time or your time. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Damn it! I was going to ask you something. It totally blanked. Um, oh, so yeah. So do you think the way you changed your approach, did Me Too have anything to do with that, or was it you maturing in age that you kind of got to that place to where like, okay, I'm gonna let it be a little more organic as opposed to just chasing everything you see? Mm-hmm. 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 It's funny you say that because that kind of came up when I first got to Sam. Some girls that knew me from middle school like, oh, don't talk to him. He's a player. But I have some feminist friends, and they would. I have one that's probably watching right now. She'd be very upset with you the whole thing about that someone's daughter, that someone's sister, someone friend. The argument that I've heard from feminists is that they're a human, that they should be treated as a human, and not, you shouldn't have to relate that there's someone's daughter, someone's mother that you're treating or disrespecting, that they should have that respect as a human. But at the same time, it's hard to have a discussion with some feminists, not all, but some of them will want to just have that argument and like, hey, look, I grew up like this. That's how I need to relate it. I understand you want them to be human, and that's just something I just got to pass on because I keep hearing it all the time. Um, being in roller derby, a lot of feminists in that, and so they have that. At least they have some patience with me because like I'll change, but I'm not going to change on a dime, and I'm not going to. I very rarely apologize. Like there's only one person I apologize to, and she's been dead for 4 years now. So I'm totally unapologetic. So mhm. Yeah, yeah. Because we'll forget. I know that's what I'm doing. I always have to. If you see me looking down, I'm playing with my phone or writing little notes. I need to ask this. I need to do that. So yeah, go ahead. Thank you for coming on. I'm gonna let you go because I know you got to record your podcast, and then I'm gonna do my responses. Hopefully, check it out. In a couple of days when I put it out. But JB, I appreciate you being here. One day we're gonna sit down and have I want to have a full hour-long conversation with you one day. So you let me know when you're available, and we'll do it. All right, brother. Take care. Love you, man. Catch you on the next one. Okay, let me end this real quick. Okay, so now, oh, scared myself. A window disappeared. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, so my take on some of the things he said, and I was hoping he would be able to be on, but he has his own podcast. He records 3 times a week. He's got his co-host. He's got to set up some stuff, and he's in Houston, so they do it a little bit later. Um, and check him out. His podcast is 16 Shots with JB and Dub Williams. I forget, but just search for 16 Shots on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You'll be able to find him, and I'm added to the show notes. So, actually, I don't need this because I can hear myself, right? Yeah, I don't need headphones. I don't need to hear him. So, initially, with his approach to females, and he had to cut it short because he went into a little bit more detail of how he was approaching. But my idea of approaching, or when I see a female that catches my eye, and I'll approach anyone, anywhere, because with my history of being a sex addict and having worked as a bartender, I spend a lot of time reading body language. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite pastimes is just going somewhere where there's a lot of people, riverbanks, malls, whatever, or at least pre-COVID, and just people watch, figure out what they're talking about, or not figure out, but kind of guess what they're talking about, guess what their conversation is about, and make up silly backstories to them. And it just depends on my mood. Either I'm trying to guess what they're doing or what's going on in their life, or I just make up some wild, preposterous, crazy idea of why they're here, like they're originally from France and whatever. So when I approach females, my mentality or my mindset is I'm doing her the favor of coming to her because I'm the prize, I'm worthy. And that kind of ties back into my whole theory of 100 and sexual prowess on one of my earlier episodes. But in essence, guys that can give females orgasms consistently are higher value than guys that can't. Of course, that's not something you can like wear on a badge, or you can't have it like tattooed on your forehead because it's not a body part that can say, oh yeah, that's what's going to happen. Whereas with females, yeah, you see the curves, you see what they have. Males, you can't really tell what's going on with them or what they can do. So it comes off as confidence. And what he was saying is how they respond to him, then he'll proceed or not. Like he'll compliment her dress or whatever she's wearing, pass a compliment. If she's receptive, then you keep moving forward. Whereas if she's short or curt or just non-responsive or turns away, because it's also body language, it's not just the words. So when I see that or hear or see, it's kind of confusing because in my mind I'm thinking of what red pill terminology is for things like that, which is IOIs, indicators of interest. The way I grew up, the way I approached this whole thing for just being a sex addict is kind of like a traffic signal. So green go, yellow caution, red stop. And so I kind of figure out whether to keep going forward, kind of go off to the side, or how do I deviate from the course of action that I have, because my interest is to have sex with her. It's not to make friends with her. It's not to get to know her and maybe go on a date. I make it clear through my actions and through innuendos and entendres that I say is that I'm here to fuck you. I might date you later if you're good in bed, but I need to see if you're good in bed first. And so that's my approach, my mindset, my mantra, however you want to call it. I'm going to get it in, or that's my goal. And yeah, in my 20s, I'd approach and hit on every female I saw, big, little, short, or small. I didn't care. I was just a numbers game for me initially. Once I realized that I had some value, that I was attractive, and that I was good in the sack, then I figured, what can I get these girls to do to earn the chance to be with me? And then, of course, that just made me cockier, bigger head, and I guess more confidence. And then that just comes out for makes it easier to bring more females in. On the other hand, he was also talking about, or his co-host kind of threw in some stuff. Well, why you got to go talk to a female at Chipotle during summertime across from the high school? And then he kind of, the co-host kind of made it creepy, unintentionally. He was just busting his balls. But then we had to okay, look, we don't do anything with underage girls. However, I'm not excusing it or coming off with an excuse to allow that kind of behavior. I'm just going to share experiences that I had myself. Back when I was in the Army, yeah, that's when. So back when I was in the Army, the most Army bases are in little middle of nowhere towns. There's a few that are in like major cities or large size cities like San Antonio. San Diego has the Marine Corps Recruit Depot. So there are some large size cities that have military bases on them. But for the most part, many of military bases are in the middle of nowhere in towns that without the military base, the towns would just kind of shrivel and disappear. There wouldn't be anything there. So in any case, with that knowledge, there was a girl I met on post in a club in the Army. So on post club, or actually it was a bar that had a little small dance floor. She had big X's on her hand. If you've ever been to a dance club or you haven't, whatever, if you're underage, most dance clubs in the United States, if you're under the age of 21, you can still go in and dance. However, you'll get big big X marks on your hand, either a stamp or Sharpie on your hand, basically saying that you're a minor and you can't be served drinks. Other places will just give you, nowadays it's more common to get a wristband that you're old enough to drink. But back in the 90s, everyone's going to spend extra money. It's easier to just get a Sharpie and write on your hands. And some people would try to go into the restroom and wipe it off or rub off the Sharpie marker so they could drink. But if you got caught doing that, then you'd get banned from the bar. So, in any case, I met this girl in the club, X's on her hands. She's going to all these guys trying to get them to buy her a drink. And clearly she was a civilian because all service members know that if you do something stupid that's against the law, against the law, criminally or civilly, on or off post, you have to deal with that criminal offense, but then you also have UCMJ, which is the military, Uniform Military Code of Justice, which you go serve your time out in the real world or out in civilian world, and you'll come back, have a trial, and then serve more time in the military, depending on the offense. Sometimes the offense will be just, you could get a slap on the wrist in the city, like having your license suspended, but if you drive with your license suspended on post, then you'll get something like reduction in pay for 50% reduction in pay for 3 to 6 months, extra duty, so you have your 9 to 5 job, or it's more like 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. job where you get up, work out, do a bunch of stuff, do your day job, and then after work, you go eat dinner, you come back, and you work till about 9 p.m. or 10, depending on the severity and for how long you got to do it. Most of the time it's doing stupid shit like polishing the brass on door handles, stripping and waxing floors, bunch of just busy work, but just to take away your free time and to reinforce the idea, hey, be on the straight and narrow. So this girl was approaching a bunch of guys, like, hey, buy me a drink. She's being all flirty, handsy, putting her hand on guys' chests or on their back, kind of, just being excessively flirty to get a guy to buy her a drink. And I saw this because people watch all the time. Saw that happening, and I finally approached her like, hey, look, you're definitely a civilian, because if you were a soldier, you would know no one's going to buy you a drink. How about we get to know each other? We dance a little bit. And we can go back to my barracks. I've got some beer, I've got some vodka, and some whiskey. And that's just a condensed version. I was flirting with her, whatever. And when I finished talking to her, she eventually just said, well, let's go to your place now. Fine, let's go. Went back to my place, made out, gave her some alcohol, kept making out, and then hooking up. We hooked up a couple of times that night. She left 4 or 5 in the morning. Saturday morning, I wake up, go do errands, whatever. Saturday afternoon, start getting ready to go to a club. Decided I was going to go to one of the dance clubs in town. I hear a knock on my door. Go answer the door. It's a girl again. It's like, hey, I figure we'll just stay in and we can drink, and fine by me. So for about a month, this kept happening. Every weekend, she'd come over, hang out, drink, hook up, play video games, whatever. After about a month, there was some holiday on a Monday. Could have been Labor Day, Martin Luther King. It was just some random Monday off. Or it could have been that we were out in the field We got Monday and Tuesday off, but I remember that it was a Monday that I had off, and I wanted to go hang out with her. And she said she was busy. She was getting out of school early that day, but she can't do anything for the whole night because she has class late on Tuesday. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, she's in college. You know, Tuesdays are late day, Mondays are her even, or it could have been backwards. But I just remember the way she worded what she said. I'm like, oh, she's in college. All right, that's fine. You know, I thought she was just like living at home, working at the mall, doing something. But I was like, okay, she's in college. All right. Kept seeing her, and after about 2 months, 3 months, she's like, hey, you know, I want you to meet my parents. And I was just like, oh, damn it, I don't want to get locked down. But she was a throat goat. She was very good. She was very talented. So go to her parents' house, go have dinner. And when I introduce myself to the father, he's like, he shakes my hand and he says very clearly, there's no reason a man your age should have anything to do with the girl my daughter's age. I'm like, oh no, sir, we're just friends. We met at the mall, blah blah blah. You know, getting to know her. We're dating. You know, we're just friends. Nothing's going on. He just kind of grunted and didn't really say much after that. Then we had dinner. Mom made some pasta. I'm sitting at the table. Girls to my right. Mom's to my left at the end of the table. Next to her is a toddler. She's feeding him on high chair? Yeah, high chair. Across from me is 8 or 10-year-old boy, the brother. And then at an angle for me in front of the sister, or in front of the girl, is the sister. She had just turned 16 because she mentioned something about getting her driver's license. And then the other end of the table is the father. So we're all sitting there explaining, hey, Texas isn't full of cowboys, horses, and oil derricks. We actually got cities there, explaining why I don't have a draw. And just going on, having a conversation, answering questions, just being charming. And meeting the pasta. And the sister blurts out, So, Susie, what are we going to do for your 14th birthday next year? I keep eating like I didn't hear a thing. My blood pressure, I could feel like just my guts just drop and sink to like my hips, like just like, you know, whenever you drop in a roller coaster, that's what I felt like. That just said everything just dropped. Kept eating like I didn't hear anything. I heard Susie kick her sister under the table. Kept eating, pretend like I didn't hear anything. Kept talking. Dinner was over. Plates get cleared. Stand up, go talk to the father, tell him, sir, I met your daughter on post in a club, trying to buy drinks, or trying to get guys to buy her drinks. On my mother's grave, I will never come back to your house and pick her up again. She kept trying to see me for a while after that, but the father essentially said that basically if she ends up coming up pregnant, that I do the right thing and marry her. I was like, not a problem. If anything like that happens, sure. But anything after this day, it's not going to be me. And not the issue. Well, there's an issue I have with this whole situation, but on top of that is that's kind of a common thing. I had soldier friends, other friends in the barracks that had something similar happen to them. They either meet a girl at a bar, they meet her at a club, or they might have met her at the mall, but they act or pretend as though they're over 18. Come to find out, they're underage, and they're just trying to find a way out of town, because that's really the only way to get out of a little small town like that, is marrying a soldier or joining the military. Some people don't want to do that. So the easiest thing to do is marry a soldier, let them take you somewhere else, and let the chips fall where they may. Something like that happened to me a couple other times, meeting them in a bar or meeting them out in public, and that was strictly in the Army, like around a base. My issue with the whole situation is that per state laws, or most state laws, You know, the age of consent varies from state to state. Some states are 12, other states are 16, most states are 18 and up. Texas is a weird exception where 17 is the age of consent, but if you're within 3 years of the age of each other, so if you're 17 and she's 14, that's okay. But if you're 18 and she's 14, that's not okay, which doesn't make any sense. But you could be 16 and 13, you know, just 3 years age difference, regardless of who male or female is. It's just got to be within 3 years of an age gap. So my issue with the whole statutory rape thing isn't that I want to hook up with underage girls. My issue is that I met her in a club where I would have a reasonable expectation that she's at least 18. Specifically, if she has X's on her hands, that means someone checked her ID, saw that she wasn't 21, but over 18, put X's on her hands like, okay, she's old enough to be in here, but not old enough to drink. So had this gone to court, I'd have been doubly fucked. One, with the state of New York, and two, with the Army. And it could be a slippery slope if we change the laws to say something like, okay, if the girl's going out there seeking men, older men, not online, I'm talking about she's going to adult places, bars, clubs, whatever else adults, casinos. Well, no, casinos have kids in there. But essentially, my issue is that if you have a reasonable expectation that you're meeting someone over the age of 18, then you shouldn't be prosecuted to the same extent that you would be if you were pursuing them, like To Catch a Predator, like that guy. Those guys definitely deserve the book thrown at them. But a guy that just meets a girl at a bar, dance club, any other situation where you're expected to meet other 18-year-olds or other adults, I think that should be more of a slap on the wrist, or more of like, hey, pay more attention and be careful what you do. And so when we were talking, when I was on his podcast recently, we were just talking about, hey, look, I'll hook up with an 18-year-old all day long. I prefer 25, 30-year-olds in general to like hook up with and date, because there's really nothing for me to talk to with an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 25, even a 25-year-old. Their mentality and their mindset, goals, all this other stuff. I mean, not all, but by and large, most of the kids that I know and I meet and I see, it's like all about social media, reality TV, and just stuff I don't care about. I don't really want to watch. Yeah, okay, I'm on YouTube and I'm semi-reality TVing, being my own life, but I don't think, what's the word? I don't think it should be as big of a deal when there's that expectation of being with an adult. In any case, then as far as with the approaches and all the other things, I find it amusing that most males have this fear with the whole Me Too and the possibility of getting in trouble. When I approach females, it's like, probably because I'm better at reading body language and micro expressions and all those things, I can tell, okay, she's not interested, I stop, I back off, and I leave. She might tell her friends, hey, this creepy old guy was talking to me, or whatever. But I know how far I can push things. And there's other times that I'll push far, and it'll just kind of fall on dead ears, dead air. I'll make a comment like, oh yeah, that's a nice dress. 10, 15 minutes later, we're still chit-chatting, and I'll say something to the effect of like, yeah, I'd look better on the floor by my bed, or something like that. Just kind of hinting or letting her know that I want to get her to the bed. I'm not interested in keeping this conversation going. So if she's not interested, I'll read it, and I can read it in her face if she's not interested. She'll either, make a weird face, back off, turn her body, or just give a nervous laugh, like, okay, she's not interested. I'll keep it polite, bring it back to a more civil level, instead of keeping it sexual, and just like, all right, well, nice meeting you, and just take off. And I think that's something that people need to learn in general. I think that's probably something that we're losing, that children today, specifically with the whole COVID thing, but also with just kids being stuck on their phone, they don't learn pecking order. They don't learn how to interact with others socially. And going back to kind of what my friend was saying about how we raise kids and how things are different, I think bullying should be still a part of our life. You need to learn pecking order. You need to learn, or people need to learn, that you talk shit, you can get hit. Most people have this whole thing of aversion to violence, and I'm not one to react with violence initially. I'm not going to just go and hit someone because they offend me or they piss me off, which it takes a lot to offend me to begin with. But it should be there as like, okay, look, we can joke around, we can crack jokes, we can say stupid stuff to each other, but I'm never going to allow someone to talk to me the way people react or behave on social media, where they'll go on a long tirade, go on a rant, and just say stupid shit about whatever. Karens, stuff like that. You'll see TikToks or viral videos that, woman's hitting a man, the man's just trying to block or walk off. Whoever hits me, they're going to get hit back. There's no excuse. You shouldn't hit women. Women shouldn't hit anyone. No one should hit anyone. But if you're going to raise your hands, you should have that expectation that someone's going to hit you back. There's some other Gen Xers that I know were taught kind of the same thing. Some of my friends in roller derby, their daughters are used to hitting boys their age. Like, oh, if they make a joke or say something funny, they'll just punch them in the arm. And it is not a little, they're taking a full-on swing. And I tell the girl, hey, what would you do if a guy hits you like that? Oh, no, we get into a fight, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what would you do if a girl hits you like that? Oh, well, she's just playing. So a girl hits you the same way you hit that guy, that's just playing. But if a guy hits you back, then it's wrong. And unfortunately, some of my friends don't get that it's wrong. If it's wrong for one person, it should be wrong for both people. They just see it as, well, no, girls shouldn't be hit at all. No one should be hit. But I know that's kind of controversial in a sense that talking about violence and is just propagating more toxic masculinity. My issue with that toxic masculinity is that some people will say that just violence is wrong and we need to get rid of it altogether. And the best way I can not get around it, explain it, is that most superpowers, most countries maintain peace by preparing for war. In that we're not attacking each other, we're not doing anything because everybody has nuclear weapons. Everybody can, go full retard and wipe out the earth. So we behave a little bit more. The only ones that we do kind of bully are, smaller factions, countries, and terrorist groups, and try to bend them to our will, which that I believe is wrong as well. So, in any case, this is kind of a short show. Sorry for being late. Technical difficulties on my end, running late on my friend's end. So, either case, it all worked out. Glad you're here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I love you. Besos.